I found out my parents demanded I skip my own college graduation to babysit my golden sister's kids. I said, of course. Then I walked across that stage. Anyway, when they saw the photos, Mom texted, "How could you?" I replied, "Easily." Hey Reddit, my parents asked me to skip my college graduation to babysit my sister's kids, my own graduation that I worked 4 years for. When I showed up and walked across that stage anyway, my mom texted, "How could you?" Like I was the villain. Spoiler, I'm not. Let me give you the full picture. I'm Jake, 26 male, and I have an older sister named Ashley, 31 female, who is the walking definition of golden child syndrome. This woman could set the house on fire, and my parents would blame me for not installing smoke detectors. I could cure cancer, and they'd ask why I didn't do it faster. Growing up, Ashley got everything. Horse riding lessons, piano, a car at 16. I got a used bike from a garage sale at 13. When I asked why, my dad said Ashley needed more help getting around. She lived 3 miles from school. I lived 5. Ashley could stay out until midnight at 17. I got a 10 o'clock curfew. She brought home C's and got taken to dinner. I brought home a 3.9 GPA and got told, "Good job, don't let it drop." When Ashley got pregnant at 19, my parents were horrified for 2 days before switching to full support mode. Nursery, baby stuff, everything funded. The father bounced when he found out. My parents never said a word, just pure support. The contrast was insane. When I got a speeding ticket at 21, I paid the fine, took defensive driving, and got grounded from the family computer for a month. Grounded at 21. Ashley got a fully furnished nursery for getting knocked up. Fast forward, Ashley now has 3 kids. Logan is 7, Mia is 5, Chloe is 3. I love them, but Ashley treats me like built-in childcare. She'll call asking to watch the kids, real quick. Real quick usually means 4 to 6 hours. I'd show up thinking it's an hour. Suddenly I'm doing dinner, bath time, and bedtime because she extended her Target run into a full day with friends. She doesn't ask. She tells. "Hey Jake, I need you to watch the kids Saturday." When I say I have plans, I get guilt-tripped. "I thought you loved them. It's just a few hours." My parents enable this. When I complain, they hit me with, "Family helps family." But when I needed help moving last year, everyone was too busy. I ended up hiring movers. I've been in college for the past 4 years working my butt off. Full course load every semester, part-time job at a bookstore, solid GPA. I went to state school to avoid drowning in debt and lived at home to save money. My parents didn't contribute $1 to my education. 0. They said since I chose college, I could figure out how to pay for it. Meanwhile, they dropped thousands on Ashley's kids for daycare, clothes, activities. I applied for every scholarship, took minimal loans, and worked 25 hours a week while they wrote blank checks for Ashley's life choices. During junior year, I got accepted to an amazing summer internship in my field. Perfect for my career. Ran June through August. 2 days after I accepted, Ashley announced she needed me to watch her kids for a month-long vacation in July. My mom actually suggested I lie to my internship about a family emergency. When I refused, I was treated like I'd betrayed the family. Ashley canceled her vacation and brought it up at every gathering for the next year. Senior year arrived, and graduation was scheduled for Saturday, May 18th at 2 p.m. I'd ordered my cap and gown, invited friends, and was genuinely excited. This wasn't just any accomplishment. I was the first in my immediate family to graduate from a 4-year university. I told my parents about it in March. My mom said, "Of course," in that tone where you know they're not really listening. 3 weeks before graduation, Ashley called with her amazing news. She and her boyfriend were going on a couples retreat that weekend, May 18th and 19th. Fancy resort, open bar, spa treatments. "That's great," I said. "When is it?" "May 18th and 19th. My stomach dropped. "That's graduation weekend." "Oh, is that the same day?" "Well, I'm sure you understand. This retreat is really important for my relationship." "Who's watching the kids?" Pause. "I was hoping you could." "Of course." "Ashley, that's literally my graduation day. It's just walking across a stage. You'll get your diploma in the mail anyway." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own sister was asking me to skip my college graduation, something I'd worked 4 years for, to babysit her kids so she could go to a couples retreat. Not a wedding, not a funeral, a voluntary vacation. "I'm not missing my graduation," I said firmly. "You need to find someone else." She sighed dramatically. "Fine, I'll ask mom and dad then. But you're really being difficult about this." I hung up before I said something I'd regret. Being difficult? I was being difficult by wanting to attend my own graduation? The mental gymnastics required to make me the bad guy in this situation were truly impressive. I didn't hear anything more about it for a few days, which made me naively think that maybe Ashley had found alternative childcare. Maybe she'd realized how unreasonable she was being. Maybe pigs were flying and hell had frozen over. Then, exactly 2 weeks before graduation, my parents called a family meeting. In my experience, family meetings are never about good news. Nobody ever calls a family meeting to announce free pizza night. I walked into the living room to find my parents sitting on the couch with those serious faces people make when they're about to ask for something unreasonable. Ashley wasn't even there, which should have been my first clue that this meeting was about her. My dad cleared his throat. "Jake, we need to talk about your sister's trip. Here we go." "What about it?" "She really needs this weekend away," my mom jumped in. "She's been so stressed with the kids, and this is a rare opportunity for her and Brandon to strengthen their relationship. Strong parental relationships are important for children's development." I almost laughed at that last part. Strong parental relationships? Brandon had been around for like 8 months. But sure, let's prioritize their weekend getaway over my graduation. "And you want me to watch the kids?" I said flatly. "We were hoping you'd understand," my dad said. "Your mother and I would do it, but we're not as young as we used to be, and 3 kids is a lot to handle for a whole weekend. Let me translate that for you. We don't want to deal with the exhausting responsibility of watching 3 young children for 2 days, so we're volunteering you instead." "I already told Ashley I'm not missing my graduation," I said. My mom gave me that disappointed look she's perfected over the years. "Honey, graduation is really just a formality. You'll get your diploma whether you walk or not. But your sister needs support right now. This trip could really help her relationship." "And my graduation doesn't matter?" I asked. "Of course it matters," my dad said unconvincingly. "But there will be other graduations." "Other graduations? What other graduations? Was I planning on getting multiple bachelor's degrees? This was my one college graduation, and they were acting like it was some casual event I could just skip. "There won't be other graduations for me," I said slowly, like I was explaining something to a child. "This is my college graduation, the one I've been working toward for 4 years. The one I've been telling you about for months." My parents exchanged a look. "We think you're being a bit selfish about this," my mom said. "Ashley rarely asks for help." I actually laughed out loud at that. Ashley rarely asks for help? She asks me to babysit at least twice a month. I've lost count of how many times I've had to drop my plans because she needed a free babysitter. "That's different," my mom said. "Those were small things. This is important. And my graduation isn't important?" "We're not saying that," my dad interjected, though they absolutely were saying that. "We're just asking you to be flexible. Family helps family." There it was. The magic phrase they always pulled out when they wanted me to sacrifice something for Ashley. Family helps family, but only when it meant me helping her. The rule never seemed to apply the other way around. "I'm not skipping my graduation," I said firmly. "If you want to watch the kids, that's your choice. But I'll be at my ceremony." My mom's face did this thing where she looked like she might cry. "After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? By refusing to help your sister when she needs it? Everything they'd done for me? Like what, exactly? Let me live in their house while charging me rent? Allow me to exist in their presence?" I was seriously trying to figure out what massive debt I supposedly owed them that required me to skip my own graduation. "What have you done for me that requires me to skip my graduation?" I asked, genuinely curious what they'd say. My dad's face turned red. "We raised you. We fed you. We put a roof over your head. Or have you forgotten all of that?" "Ah, yes, the classic, we did the bare minimum required by law to not have you taken away by social services argument." Truly, I was blessed. "Right," I said, "and I'm grateful for that. But I'm still not skipping my graduation." The conversation went in circles for another 20 minutes. They'd guilt-trip me. I'd refuse. They'd try a different angle. I'd refuse again. It was like negotiating with people who couldn't grasp that no was a complete sentence. Finally, my dad played what he thought was his trump card. "If you don't watch the kids that weekend, you're going to need to find somewhere else to live." I stared at him. "You're threatening to kick me out because I won't skip my college graduation to babysit?" "We're not threatening anything," my mom said quickly. "We're just saying that if you're going to be part of this family, you need to act like it." "Acting like family means skipping my graduation?" "It means putting family first," my dad said. I stood up. I was done with this conversation. "I'm going to my graduation. If you want to kick me out for that, go ahead. I'll start packing." I walked out of the room before they could respond. My hands were shaking. I couldn't believe they were actually threatening to kick me out over this. Over my own graduation. For a voluntary vacation that Ashley had chosen to schedule on the same day, despite knowing when my graduation was. Over the next few days, the tension in the house was thick enough to cut with a knife. My parents barely spoke to me. When they did, it was these passive-aggressive comments about family loyalty and disappointing behavior. Ashley called me twice to tell me how selfish I was being and how she'd never do this to me. Right, Ashley. You'd never skip something important to me because you literally never go to anything important to me in the first place. A week before graduation, my mom tried a different approach. She found me in the kitchen and sat down with her. Let's have a heart-to-heart face-on. Honey, she started, I've been thinking about this graduation situation. Here we go. And? What if you just went to the graduation for the first part, then left early to come watch the kids? Ashley and Brandon don't leave until 3, so you could see your name called, get your diploma, and then head back. I was actually impressed by the audacity. Mom, the ceremony is 2 hours long. I'm not leaving my own graduation early. But you'd still technically be there, she argued. You'd get to walk across the stage, and then leave before all my friends get their diplomas? Before the actual ceremony is over? No thanks. She sighed like I was being the unreasonable one. I don't understand why you're being so stubborn about this. I don't understand why you can't see how messed up it is to ask me to skip my graduation, I shot back. Nobody's asking you to skip it anymore, she said. I'm offering a compromise. A compromise would be Ashley finding different childcare. That's a compromise. This is you asking me to cut my graduation short, which is not the same thing. She stood up, clearly frustrated. Fine, do whatever you want, but don't come crying to us when you need something and nobody's there to help. Cool. So now I was getting preemptive guilt about hypothetical future situations where I might need help. The manipulation was truly multi-layered. 3 days before graduation, Ashley tried one more time. She showed up at the house with all 3 kids in tow. The kids ran up to me immediately, excited to see their uncle. I hung out with them for a bit while Ashley talked to my parents in the kitchen. I could hear the murmurs but couldn't make out exact words. After about 30 minutes, Ashley came into the living room where I was building a block tower with Chloe. Hey, can we talk outside for a minute? I followed her out to the porch, leaving the kids with my parents. Look, she started. I know we've had some tension about this weekend. Some tension, that's one way to put it. I just want you to understand where I'm coming from, she continued. I never get time away from the kids. This retreat is really important for my relationship with Brandon. If we don't have a strong relationship, it affects the kids. I waited for her to acknowledge my graduation at all. She didn't. And I get that graduation is important to you, she finally said, like she was conceding a minor point. But it's just one day. You'll have plenty of other important days in your life. Right, and this is one of them, I said. I worked 4 years for this degree. I paid my own way through college. This matters to me. She rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. It's a couple hours. Just skip it and watch the kids. They love spending time with you. Then maybe you should spend more time with them instead of going on vacation. Her face got all tight. Wow. So now I'm a bad mom for wanting one weekend away? I didn't say that. I said you should find different childcare instead of expecting me to skip my graduation. God, you're so selfish, she snapped. Everything is always about you, isn't it? Coming from the person who scheduled a voluntary vacation on my graduation day and then demanded I skip it to accommodate her. That was rich. I'm going to my graduation, Ashley. Find someone else to watch your kids. There is nobody else, she yelled. Mom and Dad are too old. Brandon's family lives 5 hours away. All my friends have their own kids to deal with. You're literally my only option. Then I guess you're not going on your retreat, I said calmly. She stared at me like I'd just slapped her. You're really going to do this? You're really going to ruin my one chance at a nice weekend? I'm not ruining anything. You ruined it yourself by scheduling it on my graduation and assuming I'd just skip it. She turned and stormed back into the house. I heard her gathering up the kids, and then she left without saying goodbye. My mom came out a few minutes later. I hope you're happy, she said. You just made your sister cry. She made herself cry by being unreasonable, I replied. My mom shook her head and went back inside. The house was cold silence for the next 3 days. The night before graduation, I was in my room going over everything for the ceremony. Cap and gown were ready. I'd confirmed the time and location. A few friends and I were planning to meet up before the ceremony started. I was actually excited, despite all the family drama. Around 9 o'clock, there was a knock on my door. My dad came in without waiting for me to say, "Come in. We need to talk," he said. I braced myself for another guilt trip. Your mother and I have decided that we're not going to your graduation tomorrow. I felt something twist in my stomach, but I tried not to show it. Okay. We're going to watch Ashley's kids so she can go on her trip. Since you refuse to help, someone has to step up and be a family member. Translation: We're punishing you for not doing what we wanted. That's your choice, I said evenly. We're disappointed in you, Jake. We really thought you were better than this. Better than wanting to attend my own graduation? Better than not sacrificing major life events for my sister's convenience? What exactly was I supposed to be better than? Noted, I said. He stood there for a moment, like he was waiting for me to break down and apologize. When I didn't, he left and closed the door a bit harder than necessary. I sat there on my bed, staring at the wall. My parents weren't coming to my graduation. My own parents. Because I wouldn't skip it to babysit. The whole thing was so absurd I almost laughed. I texted my roommate from freshman year, Alex, who was also graduating tomorrow. Parents officially not coming to graduation. Family drama, it's whatever. He texted back immediately. Dude, that sucks. You want to grab food after the ceremony? My parents are taking me out and you're welcome to come. Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks, man. At least somebody wanted to celebrate with me. I barely slept that night. Part of me kept expecting my parents to come to my room and say they were just kidding, that of course they'd be there tomorrow, but they never came. I heard them moving around the house in the morning, but nobody knocked on my door. Saturday morning arrived. I got up early and put on my dress clothes under my graduation gown. I looked at myself in the mirror for a long moment. 4 years of work. 4 years of juggling classes and a job and dealing with my family's nonsense. And I'd made it. I went downstairs around 11. My parents were in the kitchen with coffee. They both looked up when I walked in but didn't say anything. I'm heading out soon, I said, just to break the silence. My mom looked like she wanted to say something but didn't. My dad just nodded and went back to his coffee. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. Just as I was leaving, my phone buzzed. It was Ashley. Just wanted to let you know that Mom and Dad are coming over at 1 to watch the kids. Thanks for nothing. I didn't respond. I got in my car and drove to campus. The graduation ceremony was actually really nice. The weather was perfect. Sunny, but not too hot. I met up with Alex and some other friends. We took a bunch of photos in our caps and gowns, making goofy faces and throwing our arms around each other. These were people who'd actually been there for me the past 4 years. Who'd studied with me, celebrated with me, and supported me. When my name was called and I walked across that stage to get my diploma, I felt this surge of pride and relief. I'd done it. Despite everything, I'd actually done it. The audience clapped, and I could hear my friends whooping and cheering from their seats. After the ceremony, we all threw our caps in the air, took more photos, and just soaked in the moment. Alex's parents were super nice and insisted I join them for dinner. We went to this Italian place downtown, and they made a toast to the graduates and asked me all about my plans for the future. It was bittersweet. This was what graduation should have felt like with my own family. Instead, I was being basically adopted for the evening by my friends' parents because mine couldn't be bothered to show up. During dinner, I posted a couple of the graduation photos on social media. One of me with my diploma, one of me and my friends mid-cap throw. Simple captions, "We did it," and "college graduate" with the graduation cap emoji. I turned off my phone to enjoy dinner and didn't turn it back on until I got home around 9 that evening. When I powered up my phone, I had 17 missed calls from my mom, 12 from my dad, and 36 text messages from various family members. The first text from my mom, sent at 4:47 p.m. "Did you really go to your graduation?" Then at 5:02 p.m. "Jake, answer your phone." At 5:15 p.m. "How could you?" At 5:23 p.m. "After everything we talked about, you went anyway? You are so selfish." At 6:01 p.m. "Your sister is devastated. She had to cancel her trip." Wait, what? I scrolled through more messages. Apparently, my parents had shown up at Ashley's house at 1 o'clock as planned, only to find she'd already left for her retreat. She'd assumed, correctly, that I was going to my graduation and that my parents would cover for the kids instead. So she'd bounced, leaving my parents with 3 kids for the entire weekend, instead of just Saturday afternoon and evening like they'd thought. My dad's texts were more aggressive. "You need to come home right now and explain yourself. This is unacceptable. You deliberately lied to us." Lied? I'd never once said I wasn't going to graduation. They'd assumed. They'd made a choice based on that assumption. Not my problem. There were texts from Ashley too, but they were more whiny than angry. "Can't believe you actually went. Now I have to deal with Mom being mad at me. Thanks a lot. Hope your graduation was worth ruining my weekend." I sat in my car in the driveway, reading through all these messages, and I felt nothing. Not guilt, not anger, just this weird calm. I finally texted my mom back. "I told you I was going to my graduation. Multiple times. I don't know why you thought I wouldn't." Her response came back immediately. "We needed you here. How could you be so selfish? I stared at that text for a long moment. How could I be so selfish? For attending my own college graduation that I'd worked 4 years to earn? For not canceling my plans to accommodate my sister's voluntary vacation? I typed out my response carefully, easily. Then I added, I told you weeks ago I was going. You chose not to believe me. That's not my problem. Also, Ashley clearly left for her trip anyway, so I guess she didn't really need me after all. I turned my phone on silent and went inside. My parents were in the living room, and they both stood up when I walked in. All 3 of Ashley's kids were scattered around. Logan was playing on a tablet, Mia was coloring, and Chloe was passed out on the couch. We need to talk, my dad started. No, we don't, I said calmly. I went to my graduation like I said I would. You chose to believe I wouldn't. That's on you. You lied to us, my mom said, her voice shaking. I never lied. I told you repeatedly I was going to my graduation. You just didn't listen. You could have at least called to tell us you were actually going, my dad argued. Why would I call to confirm something I'd already told you multiple times? You knew when my graduation was. You knew I was planning to attend. You just hoped I'd change my mind at the last second and do what you wanted instead. My mom's eyes were watery. Do you have any idea what you've put us through today? We've been stuck here with 3 kids because you went to your graduation. You volunteered to watch them. That was your choice. And Ashley clearly left for her trip anyway, so you would have been watching them regardless of whether I went to graduation or not. The truth of that statement hung in the air for a moment. My parents had been played by Ashley just as much as they'd tried to manipulate me. She'd never planned to cancel her trip. She'd just assumed that between me and our parents, someone would cave and watch her kids. And she'd been right. My parents had. This conversation isn't over, my dad said. Yeah, it is, I replied. I'm going to my room. Congratulations on your babysitting weekend. I went upstairs and locked my door. For the next hour, I could hear them trying to handle bedtime with 3 kids who weren't used to sleeping at Grandma and Grandpa's house. There was crying, negotiations, and general chaos. Part of me felt bad for the kids, but mostly I felt vindicated. This was what they'd wanted me to skip my graduation for. This chaos. This mess that Ashley had created by having 3 kids and then treating everyone around her like a free childcare service. The next day was Sunday, and I stayed in my room for most of it. I could hear my parents downstairs with the kids, and it sounded exhausting. Good. Maybe they'd think twice next time before volunteering me to sacrifice important events for Ashley's convenience. Around 3 in the afternoon, I heard Ashley's voice downstairs. She must have come back early from her retreat. There was a lot of talking, some raised voices, and then Ashley left with the kids. My mom knocked on my door around 4. Can we talk? She asked through the door. Not really in the mood, I replied. Please, Jake, just for a few minutes. I unlocked the door but didn't invite her in. She stood in the hallway looking tired. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I waited. Sorry for what exactly? We should have come to your graduation. It was important to you, and we should have been there. I nodded slowly. Yeah, you should have. It's just, your sister needed help, and we thought... You thought I'd cave, I finished for her. You thought if you pressured me enough, I'd skip my own graduation to make your lives easier. And when I didn't, you decided to punish me by not showing up. She didn't deny it. We didn't think about it like that. How else would you think about it? She didn't have an answer for that. Your sister is upset with us, she said instead. She thought we'd convinced you to watch the kids, so she went on her trip. Now she's mad that we didn't communicate better. Classic Ashley. Mad at everyone but herself for the situation she'd created. That sounds like a problem between you and Ashley, I said. Can't we just move past this? My mom asked. We're family. We're family when it's convenient for you, I corrected. When you need me to do something for Ashley, suddenly family is everything. But when I need support, like at my graduation, family doesn't matter so much. That's not fair, she said. No, it's not, I agreed. It's not fair that I worked my butt off for 4 years, and you couldn't be bothered to show up to my graduation. It's not fair that Ashley gets endless support while I get endless demands. It's not fair that you threatened to kick me out for wanting to attend my own graduation ceremony. My mom looked like she might cry. We didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it then? She didn't answer. She just stood there for a moment, then turned and walked away. The week after graduation was weird. My parents tiptoed around me like they were afraid I'd snap at them. Ashley didn't call or text at all, which was actually a nice break from her usual demands. I started applying for jobs and preparing to move out as soon as I could afford it. Then, about 10 days after graduation, my aunt called me. My mom's sister, who's always been pretty cool, and is one of the few family members who doesn't buy into the Ashley worship. Hey, kiddo, she said when I answered. How's the college graduate doing? Surviving, I said. I saw your graduation photos on Facebook. Looked like a nice ceremony. Sorry your parents didn't make it. Word had clearly gotten around the family about the whole situation. Yeah, it was their choice not to come, I said carefully. I heard about the babysitting situation too, she said, and I'm calling to tell you that you did the right thing. I felt something loosen in my chest. Someone in my family actually thought I'd done the right thing? Thanks, I said quietly. Your parents have spoiled Ashley rotten her whole life, and it's turned her into someone who expects everyone to drop everything for her convenience. You stood up for yourself, and I'm proud of you for that. We talked for a while longer. She told me that several family members had called her asking what happened, and she'd explained the situation honestly. Not everyone agreed with my decision, but more people than I expected were on my side. Your cousin Jessica said to tell you congratulations, my aunt added, and your uncle wants to take you out to dinner to celebrate graduation properly. I felt my eyes getting watery. Really? Really? Just because your parents dropped the ball doesn't mean the whole family did. You earned that degree, and we're proud of you. After we hung up, I sat there for a long time just processing that conversation. I'd been so focused on my parents' and Ashley's reactions that I hadn't thought about the rest of the family, and it turned out some of them actually had my back. That weekend, my uncle did take me out to dinner, just him and my aunt. They asked about my job search, my plans for the future, and genuinely seemed interested in my life. My uncle gave me a card with a check in it for graduation that was more than generous. My aunt had brought a small photo album she'd made of pictures from my childhood through college. We wanted to make sure you had some good memories of your graduation time, she explained, even if your parents weren't there. I almost lost it right there in the restaurant. This was what family was supposed to feel like. People showing up for you, celebrating your achievements, actually caring about your life. My parents' reaction to me going to dinner with my aunt and uncle was telling. When I mentioned it, my mom got all huffy about how I was turning the family against them. My dad muttered something about people not understanding the full situation. Because clearly, the full situation was that I was the villain for attending my own graduation. Ashley called me about 2 weeks after graduation. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Hey, she said, her voice tight. We need to talk. About what? About this whole graduation situation. Mom and Dad are still upset, and it's making family events really awkward. Okay, I said, waiting to see where this was going. I think you should apologize to them. I actually laughed. Apologize for what? For going to your graduation when they needed you to watch the kids. For making Mom and Dad deal with all 3 kids by themselves. For causing all this family drama. Ashley, I didn't cause the drama. You did by scheduling your trip on my graduation day and then assuming I'd skip it. It's just one day, she exploded. Your graduation was one day, Jake. My relationship is my whole life. And my education is my whole life too. I worked 4 years for that degree. Oh, please, you act like you're the only person who's ever gone to college. It's not that big of a deal. And there it was, the core of the problem. To Ashley, nothing I did was ever a big deal. Nothing I achieved mattered compared to her needs and wants. My graduation was just one day, but her couple's retreat was somehow a life-changing event worthy of everyone's sacrifice. I'm not apologizing, I said calmly. I told everyone weeks in advance I was going to my graduation. You chose to schedule your trip that day anyway. Mom and Dad chose not to come to my graduation. Those were all choices you guys made. I'm not responsible for your poor planning. You're being a jerk about this, she said. No, I'm being honest. And I'm done being your free babysitter and everyone's doormat. What's that supposed to mean? It means that from now on, when you need a babysitter, you can hire one. When you need help, you can ask nicely instead of demanding. And if I say no, that's my answer, and you need to respect it. So you're just going to abandon your nieces and nephew? Classic guilt trip. I'm not abandoning anyone. I love those kids, but I'm not your on-call childcare service anymore. You want me to watch them? Ask in advance, be respectful, and understand that sometimes I'll say no. She hung up on me. I haven't heard from her since, except for one passive-aggressive text a few days later about how some people don't understand what it means to be family. My parents gradually started talking to me again, though things are still tense. They never actually apologized for missing my graduation or for trying to force me to skip it, but they also haven't asked me to babysit for Ashley since then, so I guess that's progress. I got a job offer last week, good salary and benefits. Starting in a month, I've been apartment hunting and found a nice place that I can afford on my own. 1 bedroom, decent neighborhood, no family members nearby who think I owe them free labor. My parents' reaction to me moving out was mixed. On one hand, they seemed sad I was leaving. On the other hand, I think they're relieved they won't have to deal with the tension in the house anymore. My mom asked if I was moving because of the graduation situation, and I told her honestly that I was moving because I was ready to start my adult life independent from their manipulation and Ashley's demands. A month after graduation, things came to a head at a family barbecue my aunt was hosting. The whole extended family was there. Cousins, aunts, uncles, the works. I showed up figuring I'd just keep my head down and avoid drama. Ashley cornered me by the drinks cooler within 10 minutes. "We need to talk about you making things right with mom and dad," she said, blocking my path. "Nothing to make right," I replied, grabbing a soda. "I went to my graduation. End of story. You embarrassed them in front of the whole family. People are talking." "Yeah, people are talking about how they tried to make me skip my graduation to babysit your kids. That's what they're talking about." Her face went red. "You're so selfish. You know what? Next time I need help, don't bother offering." "I never offered in the first place, Ashley. You demanded. There's a difference." She stormed off. My cousin Jessica appeared next to me 2 seconds later. "Dude, that was awesome," she whispered. "She's been telling everyone you flaked on her when she really needed you. Nobody's buying it." Turns out half the family knew exactly what happened. My aunt had filled them in on the real story, and most of them thought my parents and Ashley were being ridiculous. A few relatives came up to me throughout the barbecue to congratulate me on graduation and slip me cards with cash in them. My mom pulled me aside before I left. "Your father and I think it's time we all moved past this." "Moved past what exactly?" "The whole graduation thing. It's causing problems at family events." "I'm not the one causing problems, Mom. You guys are still mad I went to my own graduation. That's on you." She looked like she wanted to argue but just shook her head and walked away. 2 weeks later, Ashley called me at 11 p.m. on a Thursday. I almost didn't answer. "Jake, I need a huge favor." Her voice was panicked. "What's wrong?" "Brandon and I got into a fight and he left. I have a job interview tomorrow morning at 8, and I can't bring the kids. Can you watch them? Please?" I paused. This was the moment. The test of whether anything had actually changed. "Did you ask Mom and Dad?" "They said they can't. Dad has a doctor's appointment." "What time do you need me there?" 7:30? The interview is on the other side of town." "And what time will you be back?" "Probably by 10. Maybe 10:30. I took a breath. "Here's the thing, Ashley. I'll help you this time because this sounds like a genuine emergency, and you actually asked instead of demanded. But going forward, you need to give me more notice. And you need to respect when I say no." Silence on the other end. Then, "Okay, yeah, that's fair. I'll be there at 7:30. Thank you, seriously." I showed up the next morning. Ashley looked stressed but grateful. The kids were happy to see me. I watched them for 3 hours. She came back at 10:15 like she said, and she actually thanked me again. "How'd the interview go?" I asked. "Really well, I think. Thanks for doing this, Jake. I know things have been weird." "Yeah, they have been. I'm sorry about the graduation thing. I should have found someone else." I almost fell over. Ashley apologizing? That was new. "Thanks for saying that." She nodded. "Brandon thinks I take advantage of you. He's been on me about it since the graduation thing. Said I need to hire actual babysitters instead of always calling you." "Brandon's not wrong." "I know." She actually looked embarrassed. "I'm going to try to do better." I left feeling weird. Not quite forgiveness, but maybe the start of something less toxic. My parents took longer to come around. It wasn't until I invited them to see my new apartment that things started shifting. They showed up with a housewarming gift, a nice set of kitchen stuff, and actually looked around with what seemed like genuine interest. "This is a nice place," my dad said, checking out the view from the balcony. "Thanks. I've been saving for a while." My mom was quiet most of the visit, but as they were leaving, she stopped at the door. "I'm sorry we didn't come to your graduation," she said quietly. "We should have been there. It wasn't a full apology for everything, but it was something." "Thanks, Mom." She hugged me. My dad shook my hand. They left. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.